Okay. Hi, everybody. We're in my garden again, and today we have a special guest. This is Rosie, my acupuncturist. And when I first went into getting acupuncture, I went to I sort of say it's like a nail salon for acupuncture. It's a place you go in, you only have to strip from your elbow to the ends of your fingers, and you have to get your legs from your knees to your feet. And of course, they can get, before COVID, they could just get to your head. But I'd go in there, and the first time I went in, it was they were doing a freebie, and I'd never tried acupuncture. I was always sort of curious. So I went, and I really went in because I was having sleep difficulties, and they have you fill out this whole little form about who you are and what you are and all this stuff. And I said, well, I'm coming here because I'm having trouble sleeping. And they said, well, we can work with that, but we can work with up to 3 things. But when you're first starting out, we don't suggest, you mess with your energy that much. So I said, well, I also have sort of chronic hypertension. And if you can get rid of the chronic hypertension and the sleep, I'm good. And so they put me in the chair, and they have these wonderful chairs that glide back, and you're sort of laying there, and you're looking up at a big screen with all these scenes of world travel and oceans and mountains and just pretty pictures. And this person comes up, and she says, oh, you're here for your blood pressure. Let me check your blood pressure. Well, of course, when you're in a new situation, if you have normal blood pressure, it's a little elevated. Well, they said, you're lucky, because if you were 5 points higher, we'd have to call an ambulance. And I went, oh, okay. Yeah, it's where it normally hangs out. And they set me back. They went and stuck little pins in me in all these places I don't really remember. And it doesn't hurt. I mean, I didn't even know they were putting anything in me. And before I knew it, I was sort of racked out in this chair, resting, and I'm sure I was asleep and snoring and bothering the person next to me. Anyway, half hour later, they come and they kind of jiggle you awake and say, okay, we're done. We're going to take the pins out. And they said, how do you feel? And I really felt very refreshed. I felt really good. So I put my chair up, and I leaned over to tie my shoes, and I felt like I was drunk. And I said, whoa, I'm really woozy. Well, they'd taken my blood pressure before we started. They took my blood pressure, and in a half an hour, I'd gone down 30 points, which is like a whole lot to drop really fast. Mm-hmm. And so they were very nice people. They sat there with me. They walked me around the room. They got me some tea. I had not yet met Rosie. This was the first crew that I ever met doing this. And I thought, well, we'll see what the after effects. I said, now you just go right home. You dropped so much. You need to go home. You're going to feel the after effects of this. And they were true. I went home and I tried to eat a sandwich, and I threw up. So I said, okay. And then the next thing I knew, I never sleep. I don't nap. I'm not a big napper person. And I said, I just feel like I have to get in bed. And I got in bed, and I slept for 4 hours. And my daughter came home from work and go, Mom, are you okay? Because you're never in bed during the day. I said, well, I am today. And I went off and I ran an errand that night. And then I came home. About 9:30, I looked at my daughter and I said, I'm so sleepy. And I went in and I slept for 8.5 hours, which I had not done for months. And I'll let Rosie explain this to you. But what happens is they can kind of push your energy, but your energy is going to go back to its old patterns without a lot of encouragement and a few more pins. So I kept my acupuncture up, and through that setting, I met Rosie. And Rosie's a true healer. She touched my arm and she said, oh, you've gotten your thyroid stuff back. And I was like, because that wasn't on my list anywhere. She's a touchy healer too. But I wanted her to have the chance to explain to you about acupuncture, because that was part of my journey towards weight loss, because I hadn't started dieting yet. I think I was still a pudgy little thing when I met Rosie. And it's part of my 100-pound weight loss, which I've already done, and I have 50 more to go. But I'm going to let Rosie explain kind of her training, what got her here, and then a bunch of you were kind enough to send in specific questions. So we're going to see what we can answer. Now, I'm going to tell you this. I'm not a doctor, nor do I play one on TV. I don't shill for the company that Rosie used to work for, and I don't shill for Rosie now. I just think it's like the other skills I know people have. If you can understand what they are, then you can make a decision. Is this maybe something I should include in the path of my life? So let's let Rosie go.
All right. Hi, Nancy. It's nice to be here with you, and hi to everybody. So I started my training in 1997 in Chinese medicine. And at that time, I did not want to really to work with the needles. I wanted to work more with the energy of the body. So I got my training in shiatsu, and I was very fortunate to get teachers that worked with the energy body. So I had training in Connecticut, and I went to London for a clinical postgraduate study. So I spent a couple of years working, touching people and feeling the energy, and then helping to move the energy, soothing and then calming. And my goal was to kind of reconnect the people, because I felt that a lot of people, they were very disconnected. They did not know what was going on with them, and they were kind of their body and their mind were kind of separate. They're not working together. And then after a couple of trainings, I started studying with a monk. And then he taught me some energy healing. And then I learned about meditation and some Qigong, that it's a medical, it is a form of moving meditation in a sense. It's like Tai Chi. And then from there, I got inspired to finish my training in acupuncture. So, and then I graduated in 2013, got my license, and I have been practicing since then. So, and then I decided to work a lot with women, because I myself had a lot of issues with my own personal health, with fertility, with polycystic ovaries, and, some other digestive issues. And then I went the medical route, and there was not really much there for me. So I decided to help women that were going through the same, issues that I was having, especially in providing the support that I did not get. And that was to acknowledge the emotional aspect of it, of the disease or whatever you're going on, especially with fertility. And then also the digestion. Because the only thing that they did was just give me shots, hormonal shots. And then I would go, and then when they finished the treatment, they'll say, okay, now just go home and wait. And that was the worst time of my life, because I was so stressed, I was so worried, I was so nervous about, what happened if it doesn't work? And I was so stressed at that time that today I think how they could even attempt to do that type of treatment on me when I was under so much stress, and I didn't have the foggiest idea how to handle it. See, so there was no orientation related to that in terms of what you can do to connect the baby. Is there anything else that you can do to kind of settle your mind and then feel a little bit more in peace and connected and trust your body, trust what the process. None of that. So I had to learn that on my own after I went through 3, tries and with no success. And then the last one, I got pregnant, but I had a miscarriage. And that's when I realized that, no, this is not for me. I don't think that is what I'm supposed to do. And I made a peace with it. And that's when my path, professional path and spiritual path and the energy path really unfolded. So, and I always feel like it was a gift from the soul that came to me, just to let me know that, no, you are fine physically. It is just that your path is another one. You needed to really serve a lot of people, not just one.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then I made a peace with it. And that's when I started working with a lot of people, and women especially.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So that's how I started.
So you've been specifically in acupuncture since 2013, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Some of the questions I got from people were, can the energy work you do, acupuncture, if that's what it is, can it help with psychic abilities?
You said with psychic abilities?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I never treated people for that. When they
Mm-hmm.
come in, usually they come in with a lot of emotional issues,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of stress, anxiety, depression, very disconnected from their body, not sleeping,
Mm-hmm.
with losses, grief, things like sadness, and then or physical issues. And most of the time it's a combination of these. Mm-hmm. So I see a lot of people that have issues with allergies, a lot of people with issues with hypothyroid nowadays. A lot of people with issues with digestion, lots of bloating, lots of gas, and then acid reflux. And then a lot of them are taking medication, then that's not really helping them. It's just it kind of complicate even more the issues that they have. And then I, do not treat the symptom, but I address the symptom. I mean, usually look at the person. You see, so, and depending on them, what they are, some people, they are very open for me to work at more energy level. Other people, they're not. They're very scared of it.
Yeah.
You see, like sometimes even, if I touch somebody or I see something and I say, they can get very scared because it happened before. So, and then I just happy to kind of read them and see where they are. And then depending on where they are, that's where I provide the treatment.
Right.
Whether I tell them or not, since I work with the person, I'll be working with the physical body, emotional body, energetic body, you see, and the mental body. So, and it's not distinct. I never say, oh, today I'm just going to do this. I just address the points, and I always use the points that can calm the mind, and then just let the things happen on its own, because it has a life of its own. It's not, I'm the one that is forcing it to happen. I just kind of throw a little, almost like a pebble, to kind of, cause the ripple effect. And that can really depend on the person. And if that's what they need, they can certainly, wake up so many other possibilities.
Yes.
You see, it can certainly, open up more their conscious. It can certainly connect them with some other dimensions. But usually, traditionally, acupuncture does not do that unless you have some very special training to work at that level.
Okay. One of the other questions we got was losing weight, because I've lost weight, and I've been I've been talk about my journey. I talk about the diet I chose. I talk about the methods of support that I chose. That's how you came into the whole conversation. But when I was getting pins, I wasn't getting pins to lose weight. I was getting pins to sleep, because if you can't sleep, you can't lose weight. If you're sleeping 4 hours a night, kids, you're never going to lose weight, because you've got to have 7 to 8 hours of sleep to lose that weight. I don't know what happens in those last 2 hours, but you go back, if you wake up and you check yourself and you go back to bed and sleep 2 more hours, you wake up, you will be minus pounds. And I don't know how that happens. It goes in your mattress somewhere. But anyway, so they want to know about losing weight.
Well, it can certainly help, but it's also very, very important to take care of the diet. You see, and also being very consistent with the treatment, because what we can do is to kind of put points to stimulate the metabolism of the body. Another thing too, a lot of people have issues with their thyroid. Their thyroid is a little bit low. So that also needs to be addressed, not necessarily for medication, because there are some herbs, Chinese herbs, that are very good for that. And even some points, you can use protocols that can stimulate the thyroid. Another thing too is elimination. If people have issues with constipation, so it means that you are really accumulating a lot of toxins. You see, and we really needed to let it go of what you're holding on. And then sometimes that is not just physical, it can be emotional. Like people that have a hard holding on to resentment and anger and all kinds of stuff. If they do have a hard time letting go of those emotions, will affect their digestive system, and then will affect also their bowel movement. You see, so when the points, when we use it, we will stimulate circulation, also will help to calm the mind, will help to increase the immune system, and then we can use a specific points to address whatever it is the pressing issue the person is having, whether it's constipation, whether it is a weak digestive system, whether it is a very hyperactive liver because of the stress level, and that is affecting the heart, and then also insomnia. Yep. It can certainly do it, but I never just do the points and tell people I'm just gonna do the points and that's it. It's more a partnership. I do one part, but you also have to do yours.
Well, it's in the tarot, it's called temperance. It's called balance. It's called getting things into an alignment so that they can flow. And that's what you're talking about, because a lot of people who watch my channel know a lot more about tarot than they know
Yeah.
about meridians on your body, let me tell you.
Yeah. And another thing too, sometimes you see it is like the mind, you
Mhm.
know, like we really have it to allow our body to let it go of things.
Mhm.
You see, and we really have it to be mindful of what's going on in terms of our belief system, you see, and what is happening in terms of the imbalances in our system. So our body is able to shed, you know, letting go of stuff,
Mhm.
and then use nourishment in a very different way.
Yeah. Another question that came up was, have you worked with any of the people who have had COVID and are trying to get over the side effects of COVID?
No, I have not, because
Okay.
right now I do work on a clinic, and then, you know, the practitioners over here decided to not, you know, treat people that COVID. They
Mhm.
would be able to do the screening and sending them to other places where they would have the proper treatment, and then, you know, whatever they
And
need.
follow up that they need.
Exactly,
Right.
yes.
Yeah, because it's
But and then because of that, I have not. What I have been doing, it is when I heard people saying, you know, I know of somebody that is doing that. Is there anything else in Chinese medicine that can be used? And I said, yes, there is. There is a protocol that we can use, but usually it's more with herbs.
Mhm.
The herbs to help with the immune system, herbs to help with the digestive system,
Mhm.
and then with inflammation, you see things like that. And it worked really well because
Good.
since I was working with people and I really did not know if they're exposed or not,
Mhm.
I took those herbs myself, you
Right.
see.
Mhm.
So I could protect myself, and then I would see, yeah, this thing really works, it's really helping. You see, so that I did, but not acupuncture.
Okay. Okay. Someone want to know if you could, if you, when you work with acupuncture, do you ever work with aligning chakras, the yogic, the
The aligning the chakras.
yeah.
Well, I certainly can because of the training that I had. And there is one style of acupuncture, it's called esoteric acupuncture, where we use
Esoteric.
esoteric acupuncture.
Okay.
Yes. And it's from Miko Sankey. He's in California. And I got some training with him. And he has a style of acupuncture where we use sacred geometry.
Ah,
Yes.
my thing.
And then it's very, 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 you know, we really do not stimulate the needles. We just, you know, follow the patterns of the sacred geometry depending on the symptoms that the person is experiencing and what we want to align in the body.
Mhm.
And that can certainly help. It helps a lot with the emotions,
Mhm.
depression, you see, and more with the mind. I always have some, you know, key points that I use when the person comes in and they are under a lot of stress, that will settle their mind and then their body very fast. And then I always use some of these sacred geometries for people, you know, to calm their mind and then to clear, like people have foggy mind. I always use that. And then if they're going through a lot of stress, a lot of heart issues,
Mhm.
your heart, you know, is blocked or they can't breathe well, I usually work on their back
Yeah.
with the sacred geometry, and then it works really, really well. And then I have a pendulum that I use. Not all the acupuncturists use pendulum, but
Mhm.
I do. And I also use essential oils. And then I can check the chakras with the pendulum so they can see what is happening. Or I can check with my hands. I can certainly put my hands on the body and then see if the chakras are aligned or not. But again, depends on the person, right? Because some people, they are not very comfortable with that. They don't understand. But if they're very, very open to it and they actually want me to do it, there is no limit. You know, I can do all kinds of
Is
stuff.
that sort of part of the training for normal acupuncturists? Or would you have
No,
to go to find someone who's been trained in the esoteric and the sacred geometry?
exactly. Not everybody, you see, because there are different styles of acupuncture. They have the traditional that they just put the needles and they just stimulate, and they
Mhm.
use herbs with it. They have Japanese acupuncture, that is another style where
Mhm.
we still with the person and we are monitoring the pulse and we keep points in different places. They have the 5 elements acupuncture. They use the five elements to balance the body. And I do use that style. I really like that one. They
Mhm.
have esoteric acupuncture. They have Nanjing acupuncture, you see. So there is lots of styles of acupuncture. And I do a blend. I used Master Tong's point for pain because it's very effective. I use esoteric acupuncture to address more the mental and the emotional aspect of it. And then I also use Japanese acupuncture to work with the elements in the body, that it helps to balance the elements in the body pretty fast.
Okay. Okay, I think we've sort of covered this the one question, but you know, 2 or 3 people who have chronic pain.
Mhm.
And so if you're approaching an acupuncturist and
Mhm.
you should say, can you ask them what method you used? Would it be meaningful?
You can, you see, I think it's important because some styles, they are very good for certain things. You see, it's better than others.
Mhm.
Like Master Tongs in the balance method is extremely effective for pain.
Master, it's
It's
called what?
called Master Tong, T-U-N-G,
Okay.
Master Tong's points. And then the balance method, they usually call balance method because he uses some of these points. And those are distal points. And, you know, and then we use very few points. Sometimes you just do 2 points, and that's enough to release the pain.
Mm-hmm.
You see, so, and you use it with seeing the body as a hologram,
Mm-hmm.
where the, you know, one part of the body is image the other one.
Mm-hmm.
So we never treat the area that is injured because it's already suffering. So we usually find other parts of the body to balance it out. And we wanted to move the energy because in Chinese medicine, pain, it has to do with block of the blood or
Mhm.
block of the qi. So if you
Okay.
find a point in the body where you can release that tension and improve the circulation in that area, the pain goes away.
Yeah.
And so that's very effective. Balance method for pain is the best.
Okay. And then one woman wrote, and it was about a concern for her nephews. They have a
Mhm.
congenital kidney problems, and she said,
Okay.
could acupuncture help with their situation? I don't know what the congenital problem is. She gave me
Right.
a diagnosis, and
Mm.
this is where we get into doctor medicine stuff.
Yes. Well, you know, depending on the problem, you see, but generally, acupuncture really works improving circulation,
Mm-hmm.
improving the immune system, relaxing the muscle. So we know that the healing comes with the blood. There is
Mm-hmm.
no healing if there is no blood.
Right.
So, and then depending on the type of generic issues or the problems that congenital issues that they have, you see, and then we will know if it is a specific protocol or even a combination with herbs,
Mm-hmm.
you see, can help with the problem that they are having.
Right.
But for sure, their energy level, it can improve,
Mm-hmm.
you see. Probably if it's an issue with the elimination of water, can certainly maybe get better with that.
Mm-hmm.
If there is some cysts, because sometimes people have congenital, you know, diseases and it creates cysts in the kidney,
Mm-hmm.
then we have to go through the root of the problem. All right, yeah, there is some cysts in the kidney, but what is really causing it? You see, so we have to go back to the constitution of the person.
Right.
And then given an evaluation to see why are they having these accumulations of fluids, of blood, or even phlegm, and then address at that level. And then when you address at that level, it could very much be that will take care of the symptom, the problem that they're having.
Okay. And then the last one, which I had to go look up because I didn't even know this was the thing. It's ophthalmic migraine.
Oh, yes. That's a big one. And that is something that I treat a lot of people here with migraine,
Oh, cool.
especially a lot of women that have migraine. That is, a lot of the times they don't know that it's related to their hormones.
Mm-hmm.
It's a premenstrual migraine.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them, they have the cluster migraine.
Right.
And they all different. I mean, they put it in a one just, you know, class. Oh, it's just migraine. But in Chinese medicine, we needed to find out where is the pain in the head? What type of pain do you have? Is that a dull pain? Is that a trouble pain? You know, is that a pain that you feel hot in your head? It feels cold. Is that something that it helps when you relax or something that it makes worse? You see, so there's a lot of questions that we have to ask, specifically where in your head? Is that in your eye? Is that a sharp pain? Or is that in your back of your neck? Is that on the temporal area? So depending on the area where they're having the pain, we know which meridian is imbalanced. It is not balanced, it's out of balance.
Mhm.
And then based on that, and that's when we provide the treatment with a couple of points. And my experience here, sometimes when they come in, and I ask them, come when you have a migraine, because and then I will know exactly the points that will help it to clear.
Mhm.
See, I have a prescription, but if you just go by the prescription, it might not work. But if I see the person and I touch their body and I try to search and find, okay, what is the point here that is going to release it? Then I have a prescription for them, specific for them. You see what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's very, very different. And that's the difference when you are able to read the energy of the person. Because I will not go just for the prescription of the book. I'm connect with the person. The book says to use this point over here, but if it doesn't work, and then where do you go, right? But if you know, okay, you know, this is the meridian here, and then what are the other points that I can use to balance it out? Then I can search, and I use different techniques until I'm able to, you know, get that migraine or that pain completely clear. And one of the things that I use a lot is cupping. Cupping is very effective.
Did you explain cupping to people so they
Cupping?
know it?
Sure. Cupping, it is a technique that we use, and then they have different tools. It is, some of them is glass, is a little cup of glass, and then it sucks the air. We take the air out with fire, and we put on the skin of the body, and just it pulls it. So it has a different effect than deep tissue massage. Because the deep tissue massage, we are pressing down. The cup is lifting. It is actually creating a space on the fascia. It is also pulling toxins out of the body. It's improving circulation on the area. So, and there are different techniques that we can use. You can use the fire cupping. You can use the pumping, you know, the cupping with the pump. We can also use some that has bamboo. There's a cup with bamboo. And then they also have some that is silicone that is very good to do sliding cupping. And I do that a lot for people that have migraine. The sliding cupping, because it helps improve circulation. And then it also helps to unblock the channels. Because if you think about the head has a lot of meridians. And when you have migraine, there's congestion, just like traffic jam.
Yeah.
So we really need to kind of find a way to move that congestion from the head. You see, and then as soon as we do that with some points that encourage the movement to, you know, the energy to move, then usually, you know, that releases and clear. It is incredible how it happens. And it's, you know, it takes, I mean, it's not like sometimes if a person comes with a headache, it's very easy. But when it's a chronic issue, and then sometimes I recommend them to come once a week, you know, for a couple of weeks. Or, you know, depending on the severity, I sometimes say come twice a week. And then we just do the cupping, and then do the needle. Sometimes I give them herbs, and then they usually recover pretty well. You know, I mean, if the headache don't go, I mean, the migraine doesn't go away completely, it changes intensity, changes in frequency. And that's what I look for. I say, if nothing's happening, then something is not right. You know, the treatment is not effective, something is not right here, because we needed to see a change. Whatever that change is, but we needed to see a change, especially when you work with energy, because the energy is pretty fast, right?
Right.
You don't need much to see a change happen.
No, I've been through. Okay, I just kind of wandered in, and because I'm cheap, I went to the first free acupuncturist I could find. But suppose someone just really wants to go and investigate. How do you find out if someone's really an acupuncturist, or they're just someone who's aggressive with pins? I mean, you know, how do you know if you go to the real deal?
Okay, so the way that they work, you see, when you having people touching you is very different. The way that people touch you is very, very different. Some people, they have a very soft and gentle hand. They can put the needles on you and you can barely feel it. And then you just feel a very profound sense of relaxation. You see, sometimes they zone out, and that's what we wanted. And I feel very happy when I have somebody coming and they go into a deep relaxation, because it's almost like put them into a hypnotic state in a way. And the reason when that happens is the parasympathetic nervous system takes over. And then when you know the parasympathetic system takes over, you know, the digestive system improves, you know, the blood flow, the body relax, the muscles, and that's what you want for healing. You don't want it to be on the flight and fight, right? So, and that's the key. But if the person, the acupuncturist, so the practitioner, is a very tense person, okay, and then it's a very, can be, you know, very intense in a sense. And they have a training that it's more like, in a sense, I always say technical, that they are going to use the what the book says. They're not going to connect with you. They are just going to say, oh, you have this? Okay, here are the points that I'm going to put. And then they walk away, right? They put the needles and boom, they are gone. So your body is the best, how do you say, is going to tell you what is happening. If you like it, if you felt good or not. If you see a change, if you feel that you are improving and getting better, you probably found a very good match. But if you, for some reason you go from one treatment, nothing happens, and you go to the second treatment, nothing happens, and you go to the third, nothing happens, something's not right. Right? Especially if you do not feel good, if you start getting a lot of bruises, you see, and then you feel very, very uncomfortable when they put the needles on you, something's not right. It doesn't, it's supposed to not be that way. You see? And then you just have it to see. And if you, when you trust the person, that's another key. It's crucial for you to trust the person. You know, have that rapport when you feel comfortable telling them whatever, you know, and you feel relaxed and you know you trust what you're doing. See, that's very important too.
Okay, if I were to go to an acupuncturist that wasn't Rosie, should I be able to interview them first and ask some questions about how they work and what other modalities they use?
You should. When you are, you know, searching for an acupuncturist, they usually offer a consultation. You know, and then you can ask them, you see, what kind of, you know, how do you do the treatment? What kind of techniques or what kind of acupuncture do you practice? You see? And then you'll be able, by how they talk, you'll be able to know, you know, what they're doing. And then they should be able to tell you what is the protocols and what is the type of acupuncture they use. Right? Some people, you see, because there are different styles, they sometimes just come and they put the needles on you and they walk away, and then they come back and remove the needles. Other acupuncturists, they stay with you for a whole hour. And that's what I do, because I like to connect with people. I prefer to have more quality time, you see. And then sometimes they don't have to come to see me as often because I'm right there with them and I'm treating them through the session. If I put a needle, if they have pain and it's not better, I'm there and I can change it. I can put something else, you see, to make sure that when they leave, they have a relief. But if I just put the needles and walk away and just come back to, you know, remove the needles, how do you know? Maybe that's not going to be what you really needed, you see. But it's very effective too. And it depends on the person. Some people really like that style. Other people, they prefer to have the person right there with them. So you just have to see what works best for you, you know, but it's very, very important to connect with the person that you're working with.
Yeah, well, I went to Rosie almost exclusively until she moved on. And I can tell you, there's a lot of difference from one acupuncturist to another, because my favorite were the ones that used to leave the needles in. And you're walking out and you go, what's this on my ear? So how, I don't know if you want to put this out on YouTube, but how could someone reach you, or what is a clinic number they could call to find out about you? I mean, I'm going to tell you, Rosie's in North Dallas, like North.
Yeah, I'm in McKinney.
Yeah, she's in McKinney. And
Yes.
if you have
Yeah.
the wrong GPS system, it says you're going to MC Kinney.
Yeah, no, my cell number is 512
Okay.
775 7504. So they can always call me and we can have a consultation and then talk about.
Rosie's mic just died. Rosie, can you hear me? She can't hear me. I can't hear her. I don't know what's happened. Something happened, Rosie. I can't, we couldn't hear you. You were talking about, the last thing we said
Oh,
was
sorry.
to arrange a consultation.
Oh, okay. So yeah, they can certainly call me. And then I also do booking online.
Okay.
So if they go to my website and it's Acupuncture ACU number 4 women.com. It's acupunctureforwomen.com. They can actually send me email with questions, or they can book their own sessions.
Okay. Okay, well, that kind of lets you know how to find Rosie if you're in Texas, and maybe Rosie knows people other places. She's worked and lived in other places, so she can help you with that. I know she was really important to my journey, and that's why I brought her on. And I'm sure she'll be glad to explain to you some of the phrases and things she used. I'm going to try to include some of them that I asked her to spell for me below, so that you can kind of maybe Google just that term. But anyway, I'm glad to, because there's some people from Australia, Rosie, that I don't think are going to call you.
They can send an email.
They can send you an email, and there's acupuncturists, and there's a lot of Asian medicine modalities in Australia, I know.
Right.
But anyway, I really appreciate you coming on. Thank you. Thank you for visiting the garden. Hope we planted some new seeds of knowledge for people, because I tell you what, I was just cheap, walked in a place and it worked. I was fortunate. I've also paid for things and found out they didn't work.
Right.
So,
that is so true. You see, yeah.
And so anyway, I'm reminding everybody to like, share, especially share if you have a friend you think could get value from learning about acupuncture. I think Rosie did a really good job. I actually found out more about what was going on around me than I knew before. And
Wonderful.
and I hope that you learn some new things, and subscribe. If you subscribe, then I can bring on more wonderful people like Rosie, although there are very few people who are as wonderful as Rosie.
Oh, thank you.
Anyway, you guys, thanks for coming by to this tonight, because usually I post at 7 in the evening. And I'll talk at you later. Bye-bye. Have a good day.